terceira temporada de A Roda do Tempo está chegando e desde ontem a gente começou a ver aí várias entrevistas do elenco saindo em diversos canais e o Prime Video me chamou para compartilhar com vocês duas dessas entrevistas na sua versão legendada, então, para o público brasileiro. Se você gosta de A Roda do Tempo, tem aqui no canal uma playlist gigante do Tecendo a Roda, com vários vídeos com a cobertura da primeira e da segunda e várias coisas já sobre a terceira temporada. Então não deixa de conferir, vai ficar linkado aqui na descrição do vídeo. E segue aí, então, as entrevistas da Natasha O'Keefe, que vive Alan Fear, junto com o Rafe Judkins, que é o showrunner da série, e também uma segunda entrevista do Donal Finn com o Marcus Rutherford, que são o Mat e o Perrin, respectivamente.
So, what can you tell us about the third season of Wheel of Time and what makes it such an exciting project for you to work on?
I mean, the third season of Wheel of Time is something that we've been waiting a long time to get to. This is based on the fourth book, The Shadow Rising, which is, was my favorite book and is many, many people's favorite book in the series. Not just because it sort of like is an isolated standout, but because it's where it really starts to get into the kind of storytelling that the whole series is so famous for. And so to get to hit this point and kind of expand this world, live with these characters, we've done all the setup work and now we kind of just get to have fun, which is really exciting. Yeah.
Amazing, that's great. Natasha, what has Lanfear been up to since we last saw her in season 2?
She's sort of trying to fix Lanfear from season 2, being now in the fear of Mogedian's shadowy self and presence. So she's having to find a way of making some alliances. And those alliances aren't always, they're not always coming her way.
Not a lot of people like her or want to work with her.
She's made some enemies. I thought 3,000 years has passed. Perhaps she just thought, we can put water under the bridge, surely. So there's a lot of that going on, a bit of politics. There's Rand to deal with. Does Moiraine and Lanfear perhaps, are they alliances? Do they become alliances? Does it work? It's an exploration of that in this season. And yeah, she dream walks the hell out of season 3.
Yeah. She's popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
Great. And I know you mentioned Rand. Would you mind talking us through that relationship and how that's evolved in this season?
Well, it's definitely evolved. The relationship with Rand has definitely evolved in the sense that he's also evolving and he's growing his own opinions, I think. And this isn't good news for Lanfear because the tricks she was up to in season 2 isn't working, and that's somewhat frustrating.
Except also something that she kind of likes, I think she likes when Rand isn't as easily manipulated. She likes his strength. Yeah, so you see, I think, a real deepening of their relationship this season and her kind of meeting the real Rand, as he's figuring out who the real Rand is. So I think they have quite an interesting relationship in season 3. I'm excited for people to see it.
Yeah, because also she's also accepting of his darkness as well, and perhaps the others aren't. So that's interesting to explore.
Rafe, what can we expect from the Forsaken in season 3?
Oh, I mean, season 3, we have all of the Forsaken back in our world, and it's one of the most exciting things in the books is the fact that these group of, I won't give the exact number, this group of psychotic individuals who each have their own absolutely twisted approach to the world and think they should be in charge of the world, all not only going after our characters, but also often going after each other. They're some of the most exciting characters in the Wheel of Time. We already got to have fun with Lanfear, and to see these other ones start to come into our world and what they're up to and what they do and who they use, it's definitely one of the best parts of season 3.
Amazing. Just lastly, quickly, for both of you, Wheel of Time being such an iconic franchise now and with such a huge dedicated fan base, how does it feel to be a part of this project for you guys?
Oh, well, from the actor's perspective, it's such a joy to play Lanfear. I had a sense that when I first met you in that audition room that there was going to be a lot of fun playing this character, but little did I know how embraced the character would be. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and yeah, it's a great
Yeah, it's
time.
just a pleasure. There's so much content in the world right now, and so much of it, and amazing stuff, beautiful stuff that gets made, and people don't really get this chance to interact or talk about it. And so to be able to make something that, people watch and interact with and talk about, and, that every costume detail is going to have 50 people making a post about what it means and what they think it might mean,
There's a lot of love there.
it's so much. It's why we do what we do. We want people to watch it and engage with it. So I think we all feel really lucky to be involved with something that has such a big fan base.
Yeah, so at the end of season 2, Perrin is kind of in found with the rest of the gang, and he kind of takes that kind of big decision to commit an act of violence against Jeffrey Bornhold. And I think coming into season 3, I think he's kind of got quite tired of being thrust into these kind of dangerous, kind of violent acts, and he's kind of decided to step outside of this kind of prophecy in this journey and wants to return home to the kind of the sanctity of the Two Rivers. And then I think he kind of realizes then that there's another kind of threat encroaching. But I think, he's kind of trying to step outside kind of like the duty and responsibility that he's felt previously. But I think he's learned a kind of a lesson that actually that isn't really possible. So he's kind of thrust into a leadership role, but without the help of his friends that he's had in previous seasons.
Yeah, and I think, where you find Matt at the end of season 2 is that he has a great sense of he's a newfound sense of value in himself and what might be expected from him as a person to contribute in society, and a lot of season 2 is him kind of managing a great sense of failing and a great sense of I think self-loathing and stuff, and that he's had this big affirmation that there might be more in store in life for him than just being a good mate to these pals that he has that have such clear leadership qualities. I think he looks around and he says well, it's very natural that they would have greatness in store for them, but and it's about kind of he finds himself with a newfound kind of position in society or a new standing, and initially what's his reaction to that, and how does he kind of use it or misuse it or whatever, and then ultimately what if you do kind of grow to that larger kind of place in society, what are your kind of responsibilities as someone that people look up to, or how can you hold yourself, or can other people hold you accountable, and what is also the trade-off or the fallout of moving away from something that is a comfortable way of living.
I mean, could you talk a bit more about Matt's emotional state after blowing the horn off Valera?
Yeah, he's like I say, I think he up to that point was kind of managing to do things, but with a quite a lot of with a low sense of self-worth. And so I think he is, that's where we kind of see him at the end of season 2, is that he's kind of realized that there's kind of that he might have more to offer, and I think that's a pretty powerful kind of emotional shift. I think he's quite, as much as he loves adventure and stuff, I think he also really he has a quite a simplicity to him, and that he likes spending time with his mates. He likes kind of going for pints. He likes being there for his friends when they need him. I think he enjoys adventure, but also he probably doesn't enjoy kind of the responsibility, and or rather that being in a position where other people are going to depend on you, because I think he's probably in a circle where he's depended on his folks, and that's kind of let him down a bit. And then he's seen that his sisters depended on him, and that like it's an uncomfortable place as such a young person to feel that. And so I think like he's enjoying himself. I think that's where his emotional state is at the start of season 3, but it's coming at the cost of like ignoring some other stuff. He's like kind of avoiding or pushing down what is the true significance of his this change in his life.
Great. Just quickly, lastly, Marcus, what can you tell us about some of the action sequences this season, and some that talks through the kind of scale of the set pieces this season?
Yeah, I think this season kind of goes up a notch. I think that's what is quite amazing about this show. I think from the first episode that we see, there's an action sequence that I think is incredible, and I think it's kind of a lot to do with like the cast now being so comfortable with action. But Kieran Donnelly he does the first block and the last block of the season, and I think there's action sequences that combined with the level of VFX now, which I think looks stunning. I think it's just set the level of jeopardy to like another level. I think Perrin has his own journey in season 3, and there's a lot of action, and I think there's a precision of choreography that I just hadn't really seen in previous seasons. There was kind of like a lot of action, but there was a lot of kind of storylines within it. I think in this season, like there's contained action, and everyone kind of knows exactly what they're doing, and any sort of strike or hit or they're so purposeful, and there's nothing kind of like generic about it. To like the background artist, to the action that's in the foreground, it's choreographed in a way that I think it will be quite surprising to some of the fans. I think there's something really lovely. I think Kieran's changed the aspect ratio, the cameras that it's used on. So I think there's something that the world looks a lot lived in and a lot darker. And I think that maturity of the performances and the script is kind of, it's coalesced with the level of action that we see this season.
Agora me conta aqui embaixo nos comentários o que você achou dessas entrevistas, quais informações aí vocês conseguiram captar do que eles falaram, e acho que o Rafe e a Natasha deixaram escapar algumas coisas interessantes ali nas falas deles, então tem algumas coisas aí pra gente especular. Não esquece de conferir a playlist do Descendo a Roda, se inscrever aqui no canal se você quiser receber notificação de todos os vídeos novos, especialmente agora na cobertura da 3ª temporada, deixa seu joinha e a gente se vê no próximo vídeo.